why do we compare? Because we feel disempowered. We feel like everyone else is stronger than us. And where does it come from? It comes from the same thing that someone empowered us, right? We started the conversation in November. Someone empowered us. So in that case, if the mom was, hurting, abusing on some level, emotionally, physically, whatever way, not acknowledging us and making us feel like an extension, obviously now there is a conflict, because now you're in a big body, you can stand your ground, but internally you're still the little boy. At least we're trying to grow you up now fast, meaning you are trying to grow yourself up. You are trying to become your own parent. When you notice these feelings that, okay, I compare because I'm not confident. I'm not confident because I'm still in a disempowered state. So how can I empower myself? Only by turning within. Only by relaxing my system, noticing the contraction areas. That will give you a sense of real control. Because you cannot control, all you have is irritation. When you see someone you compare, it's just like a reaction, like a automatic. Can't control that. You can't control that person. Hey, don't come in here, go back. You can't say that. All you can do is take control over your body. In this case, you tame your body. Even if you're with someone and you want to, you're compelled to say, oh, look at this person. No. You turn the focus within and like, okay, well, all right, why am I comparing? Who is this? This is just another human being. Why am I antagonizing with another human being? Because it's a traumatic response. Because that human being who I'm supposed to trust, surrender to, and love, who represented God, who represented that ultimate existence, betrayed me. Now I have two choices: to stay in that betrayal or to move on. It's our choice. We don't stop antagonizing with the reality, because if someone has done something to us, someone hurt us, someone put us down, we basically lost faith in the higher reality. The corrupt parent means the corrupt faith. The corrupt parent caused or created a transmission of disempowerment and disbelief. I can't believe someone who loves me could do that to me. That's the feeling, I can't believe this person could just hurt me and do when I surrendered and chose them for my parent. So this all is just connected. And what we are basically doing when we're healing, we're restoring the faith, not only in ourselves, but actually in the higher power. So we're restoring our faith in the higher power because our parents, which are karmic representations, yet still the representations of the higher power, at least at the beginning of our lives, they are representations of higher authority, love, care. Their ability to be that real parent and represent higher power is not there because they're not taught to be that, or they're not in touch with themselves. Obviously, they are the representations of then the corruption. And so that corruption transpires through their behavior. And then we acquire corrupt modalities of faith, spirituality, because of the corruption of our parents. They're not to blame. They're just the representations of the society, because it's overall representation of the society. So that's where then, eventually, in our adulthood, we acquire the corrupt forms of spirituality. We accept the corrupt forms of spirituality because we don't know otherwise. How can we choose anything else when we are corrupt, when we are the extensions of someone else, when someone's dogma, when someone's ideology, philosophies, or we just accept something for reality, someone's narratives for reality? And so what happens then? We continue the delusion. And then when we become parents, we just pass it on. So the point and the morale of the story is to break through. Once we break through our parental archetypes, we break through in the spiritual sense, because we restore the actual link with the higher consciousness, with divinity, within ourselves. We stop looking for power outside of ourselves. We stop comparing ourselves with each and every element, because we restore that connection with that essence, with the Holy Grail, with the fountain of youth, faith, divinity, whatever you call it. And until we work, or while we are working on ourselves, refining, until we reach that point, we will be continuously gliding along the surface, satisfying our trauma, rather than looking within and observing ourselves. Before the restoration, we have to learn to observe ourselves, to observe all these reactions, the internal waves that arise within us when we see other people, when we hear something. Do you just perceive the information or people, or you react? That's the question. And if you react, or as long as you react, you're not established in your inner being. So what spirituality I was speaking about? The spirituality of trauma, the spirituality of corruption, the spirituality of limited gods or deities. So that all comes down to the same root. The parents. What is the betrayal? Betrayal means you lost your faith in the higher power. It's not even about the parents, because the parents are just representations. At that point of time, your parents are the representations, or supposed to be the representations of divinity, the representations of higher being. And through that, their corrupt actions, they corrupt you. They corrupt your perception and your faith to the eternal existence. And so you start seeing the existence in a very limited way, because you see the existence is corrupt, because that's what you experience through their abuse, through their actions, through their limitations. And so your own scope of awareness narrows down, limits itself as well. So if it limits us while you are growing up, it limits. And so what are you living then further? You're just struggling and living the limitations you've acquired during that early childhood, which now start crystallizing. Because sometimes people even justify their abuses, they justify their traumas, they justify their belief systems. It's too scary to break through, because then it means you need to unravel that fundamental layer or level of your existence, which is oftentimes painful to look at, to perceive again. Henceforth, people just keep on holding to the false narratives of life, the false narratives of existence and themselves. So what is that? All I can do is raise your awareness. I can't do more than that. I can't try and change you. I can't, get into your body. But I can raise your awareness. And when you're aware, when you become aware of the fact that your understanding of reality is shaped by the early experiences. Your understanding of reality is shaped by the betrayal of the immediate caretakers. You start dissolving the links, taking back your power within, and reconnecting with your inner self. Because until then, all you do is still empowering them, because they are the representations of matrix, of that false narrative. You still struggle and fight with them as if they were your enemies, and everyone else who represents the same energy, the same frequency in the external reality, you keep on fighting with it, failing to recognize that the enemy is and always been inside. You keep on fighting with your femininity, with your masculinity, questioning your gender, questioning your, strength and power and abilities, and just resorting back to the external projection for self-validation. And until you do that, there is no progress, there's no healing. When you notice that your consciousness is pushed towards the external, to compare, to envy, to fear, to react, all you can do is observe it, notice it first of all, and bring your focus within, into your body, and observe the waves without bringing these waves to the external reality, to the level of action. This way, you catch the snake by its tail, and all these parasitic energies in the form of thoughts and emotions and reactions stop being fed, stop being entertained by your consciousness, and so they die off, they subside, they dissolve, the link is broken. And instead of going towards the external reality, you reconnect yourself with the internal reality. Instead of going and dispersing towards the projection, you restore internal link with the divinity. And when you do so, you're a blessed man, you're a healed man, that's all. So at this point, all you can do is notice these tendencies and learn to refocus, relax the areas of contraction when you observe them, regulating your system through inhalation, exhalation, and not allowing these waves to materialize into action, into words. So then slowly, slowly, they are not fed and they dissipate, and so you master your space of consciousness. You no longer compare. Each and every element of the projected reality becomes equal with the other one. You see them all in an equanimous way. That's how you live. That's how you stay in peace. And when you are at peace, you perceive the blessing of the higher reality, and you restore that link with a higher divinity or God or consciousness, whatever you call it, in silence. So you just perceive it as a high frequency, as a vibration within your own being, your own body, your own consciousness. You no longer search for anything within, because it's too blissful, too nurturing. So, and this connection restores your so-called physical health. It produces the natural shield, the immunity shield. You perceive the grace, the blessing, and everything becomes obvious, clear. All the traumas, all the pains, the sources of the pains. Some people have physical pains, right? Some pains are crystallized traumas. Most of the pains are crystallized traumas. And so the deeper they become aware, the more the chance to really dissolve these, clusters of negative energies which settled within your system, within your body, within your organs, or, well, organs, they're all the parts of the nervous system. When we speak about pains, we're speaking about nervous system. When you are at peace, you unjam your energy body. Everything just dissolves. The pain dissolves. And when the pain dissolves, you perceive reality differently. Very often we grew together with the pain. So we even the perception of reality beyond this pain is sort of unimaginable. We can't even imagine, because it seems to be our normality. But once we dissolve this normality within, we actually awaken. It's like, wow, I couldn't have imagined that, like a lightness. The enlightenment is not just about light and the physical light and sparkles, it's also this light feeling. Because when we are oppressed by trauma, by whatever within the physical as well as the subtle collective reality, we have all these subtle connections, occult afflictions, links through which we feel somewhat oppressed. So when we dissolve these links, we awaken, because we awaken to that lightness. We experience the lightness of our existence. And the lightness of our existence is this feeling that there's no pressure, there's nothing, there's just blissful, peaceful existence. Then you can say, I am equanimous and bliss and connected. It is true that while you may be awakened for a while to this, but then your subtler afflictions or maybe connections with the collective reality will take over, and you might again become aware of some maybe subtler forms of limitations and feel something else. But it doesn't mean that, that it will completely again take over your being. No. You will now be in this duality where your state of consciousness, that equanimous being, is sometimes hacked by the collective. And we don't need to name the enemy. Enemy is always within. We don't need to name the enemy like, okay, this is this person. Even if there are external enemies, they're just the agents of the darkness of the collective, right? So we don't need to look at them and give them power. All we need to find or to look at and to identify is the access point through which that enemy operates in our system, or how that enemy gains access or tries to hack our system and deplete us, right? Because when you feel uneasy, anxious, it means someone is depleting you. Otherwise, you would feel always light, always peaceful, always blissful. So what hacks your system? you are to identify that. When you identify that, you start the process of deep self-refinement. You become a spiritual warrior because you battle the negative flows or connections. You try to seal your portals, to dissolve the links with the collective darkness. And these links are beyond your current incarnation. So you are to identify them. You are to recognize them. And then you can dissolve them. Because the more you become aware, the higher the chance you dissolve them. Because if you refuse to admit certain things, certain connections, if you choose not to look at them, you simply cannot dissolve them. You will say that, oh, they're just a part of my existence. Well, everything is a part of your existence and not the part of your existence. So it's up to you how you choose to, entertain your reality. In this world, no one forces us to do anything. Unfortunately, we choose to partake in certain narratives ourselves. Then we blame the narrative instead of looking within and identifying that which pushed us to participate, pushed us to become a part of this or that. Wise beings don't become a part of anything. They are who they are, and that's how they operate and exist in this world. Untarnished, content in their own being. When your mind chooses to participate, it's worrisome because there's something that actually pushes you to participate. Question it. Always question. The awakening is that moment when you start questioning everything. At different types of awakening. There are intellectual awakenings when you start questioning, when you start observing certain things. The real awakening is much more profound because it penetrates through all the layers to the body, to the layer of the body. That's why the body, for the first time, perceives lightness. It feels light. It feels vibrant. It feels blissful. It feels equanimous. It feels healthy and balanced. For how long is the question? For as long as the parasitic energies and waves of the collective start invading and trying to hack that connection with a higher being again. So when we speak in terms of spiritual refinement and healing, we have to hold on to that inner staff, that when you restore the connection, it feels like that is the path. That is your staff. Like a wise man with a staff. That's a allegoric representation. You hold on to that staff within yourself. You hold on to that equanimity. And you recognize each and every wave that is of an imbalancing nature. That's where you learn to master your space of consciousness and to transcend, to be open to the higher forms of knowledge that have nothing to do with our limited man-made reality, with that sort of world that we created within the natural world. It has nothing to do with it. Without this restoration, without the conviction to hold on to the higher reality after you've restored the link, there is no self-refinement, there is no evolution. Because the toxic waves within the collective, within your own self, will pull you again and again outwards. And if you can't recognize it yourself and you have no one to tell you that, to raise your awareness about this phenomenon, most probably you might fail in the process of spiritual evolution. And failure means you just stay tangled. We're not at school, or there's no some teacher with a stick standing there and forcing us to evolve. It's just that our own being is tangled. And so we are to identify how the being is in the shackles of the collective corruption, and how this collective corruption operates through us. That's the whole process of self-refinement. Why does it take so long time? Because you need to detangle, you need to identify these waves, you need to disassociate from these waves. Your identity is now corrupted, it's in the shackles. And you need to identify all these corrupt waves and restore the healthy identity, which is connected with the higher being. If that is not there, you are not able to break through. And again, in one lifetime, we can break through as far as we can break through. I saw some sort of a race. Oh, who gets enlightened first, or who's better than the other? It doesn't really matter. Who cares? You know? All that matters is how you perceive life now. What is your reality now? Are you in agony or in peace? Are you equanimous or anxious? Someone trying to hack your system, you're fighting. And everything has its place in this reality. It doesn't mean that while you're fighting is bad, you're bad, or while you're in the moment of refinement, transformation, or facing your shadows and inner enemy, it's all bad. No, it's a process. Everything has its own place, niche. It's valid to a degree. Don't give it more energy that it deserves. Just give it only that amount. And you'll stay concealed. To be spiritually concealed means to be focused consciously within, to observe the tendency to go outwards, and to again consciously bring yourself back within. A person who is drained by the collective, by the matrix, whatever projected reality, is just so much tangled, they cannot decipher these links and connections and the thoughts and emotions, because they believe that these thoughts and emotions are them. But the reality is that the reality of one's being, the true identity, is empty of thoughts and emotions. Emotions and thoughts are parasitic flows, energies. We're all capable of love or compassion and anger. But these are tools to exist, or for existence in this reality dimension. They're not supposed to continuously drain ourselves or disperse into other forms of emotions, such as envy, jealousy, fear. We're not supposed to feed these dispersed forms of energy within ourselves. But if they get better of us, it means we can't control the flow of thoughts and emotions. It's just arising on its own. So where are you then? Where's your consciousness? So this compulsion, this compulsive arousal of these thoughts and emotions is the mental sickness, is the mental and emotional so-called imbalance. Because a healthy being does not have thoughts and emotions. They exist in bliss, empty. emptiness, that emptiness is so fulfilling. It's just pure bliss, peace, contentment. Yet they are guarded by the same peace and high frequency because they don't allow anything or anyone to enter their space. No trespasses. Whoever trespasses receives from the light of the higher being, So that's how you become a master of your own space of consciousness. You don't trespass. You don't need other people's energy. You don't look into other people's gardens. You don't give energy to the projection. You live, maybe, if you choose so, within the projection, but that's all. You entertain the projection to the degree only, to the necessary degree. The rest of the time you rest in peace. People question immortality. That's what immortality is, resting in peace while being alive. How can you stay otherwise that? To become your parent means to neutralize your feeling of being an extension of someone else. It means to restore autonomy, to dissolve the connections, these unhealthy connections and these are subtle connections with your parental archetypes, meaning what they represent. It doesn't mean to cut the connection with your physical mothers and fathers, no. It means to dissolve the links with that which they represent on the subtle level, that corruption, that hurt and that pain, that limitation, that misinterpretation of life that they have instilled, but they couldn't do otherwise because they were the victims of the same thing, the same narrative. So now if you are awakened, your task is just to realize that. You can't realize it just like that. You have to come to the awareness. Your awareness has to expand so that you become aware of the fact that there's no one to blame. You're not a victim, but that's the reality you're born to because of whatever. The reason doesn't matter here. What matters is what you are now. What you are now is the collage of the parasitic energy and consciousness. Awareness means. So now you're to detangle these waves by recognizing them as limited or limiting, right? How do you feel now?
I feel a lot more connected within. I feel everything you said really touched something inside.
It hit home.
Yes, completely.
Because your home is beyond your limited narratives, beyond I am a man, I'm a woman, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm handsome, I'm beautiful, I'm not beautiful. Because the reality of things is that your life is so much beyond that which you consider self. And that's why we call this self-limited. It sounds like I'm just telling you a story. That story raises your awareness. One elevated consciousness can elevate the other to a degree that that other consciousness that is to be elevated allows itself to surrender and to let go of the limitation within itself. are within it. Only we allow ourselves to evolve or not to evolve. There's no uncle or bearded man or an old cackly woman sitting there and telling us, oh, you've done right. Now you have a right to evolve. No. It's all about our own being. We allow ourselves to evolve, or we allow ourselves to get stuck. No. No one is there to watch us. It's our own consciousness, which is limited, is the judge. The limited consciousness is the judge. It judges us, it pushes us to this and that. The higher consciousness is free from judgment, it's just there, enjoying itself, observing its human experience. So, and then it just accepts life for what it is. Detangling, refining. It's like when you have a life of a body, you're embodied. So that's like your costume. You need to wash it sometimes, clean it. You need also to clothe it sometimes if it's cold, or air it. You need to feed it properly, put it to sleep sometimes, right? So who's doing that? Consciousness takes care of its own vehicle because it's deeply connected, because it acquires the role of a parent. Who is a real parent? That consciousness, like awareness. It is aware of the fact, okay, now my body needs that. Okay, I'll go and do it. It's like, okay, I have to do my laundry. Awareness decides to let go of certain limitations because it's just decided so, because it sees it for, okay, it's like I decide to wash my clothing. Why? Because there are stains, maybe, or something else. Maybe it's just needs washing. It's been worn for a long time. The same awareness chooses to refine itself. You cannot let go of certain things because just someone told you or tells you, okay, go and refine yourself. No, you have to feel responsible. You know, a lot of spiritually inclined people, but who really fool themselves, are not grounded. Grounded meaning they're not really feeling like a parent to their own body. They're not taking care of their little, manifestation. Because you have to acquire the consciousness of a parent to take care of your body in a proper way. To feel, to be tuned to the needs. You don't need to ask everyone outside of yourself, oh, what diet I have to have, or what. You would be attuned, aligned within yourself to know what's best for you according to the climate, to the season, to your constitution. You will be tuned in. How do you think rishis and sages and wise men created all these so-called sciences about, herbal medicine or whatever it is? Because they learned, they were tuned to their body, to nature. They knew which taste affects the body this way or which way, how to balance the body, because it was all about balancing. If my body gets out of balance, so I'm not comfortable as a consciousness in it. So when we're traumatized by our limited, corrupt parents, and they are the victims too, we cannot be our own parent. That's the problem. And spiritually speaking, we cannot take care of consciously of our being. That's why your dreaming of spirituality at your house is a mess. You're eating God knows what. You don't know how to clean. You don't know how to be consistent, coherent, to follow a routine. You don't know when to put yourself to sleep. You stay up at night, or you don't wake up in the morning, or you can't, create discipline. Discipline is a sign that your consciousness is in charge of your body. It means that you are aligned. You're a parent. You're your own parent, the parent to your own body. We have adults, meaning children in the adult bodies, in old bodies, decaying, rotting, alive bodies, because they can't discipline themselves, because they're still children. How they can play a role of a parent? Their awareness, consciousness is limited. It means childish. What is childish consciousness? It's limited. So it can't take care of the body. Everything in your existence has to be in alignment. Then you may say, I am content. And when you're looking for happiness in the sky, stumbling at each rock, dirty, incapable of refining your space of consciousness or your physical space, you are just a delusional being, a child in a grown-up body. So what spirituality are we talking about? Everything in true spirituality, natural spirituality, is very, very simple. It all comes down to one thing: alignment. In Sanskrit, it's called yoga. When you are in alignment, you are in Samadhi, which means equanimity or samana. Equanimity. What is equanimity? Deep, fulfilling being, contentment, blissful contentment, whatever you call it in human language, it doesn't really matter, because as I always repeat myself, everything that you do doesn't matter. What matters is what you are as frequency, as a being. If you're truly in alignment, you don't need to prove anyone, you just emanate that alignment. If you're in a chaos, a mess, a disorder, unhealth, your emanation will be such. It doesn't matter what you say. People ask me, how can I recognize a true spiritual teacher? Remove the word teacher, a being. Are they in alignment? They'll emanate that. But can you perceive that? Yes, you can. You will go into the alignment too when you look at them. Those people who are in chaos, in darkness, they cannot, their frequency repels alignment, repels light, repels bliss. They can't, because it just shows them their shadows and darkness, because they don't want to do that dirty laundry. And so they stay stuck, fooling themselves in the name of spiritual narratives or someone else's philosophies, but they lack realization, because realization is nothing more, nothing less than just that alignment as being. Establish yourself in it, live like that, you'll live forever. I mean, that forever is defined again by your own consciousness and the need to stay. So keep on bringing you into the alignment, keep on recognizing, keep on observing, and you won't go wrong. Nobody measures our progress but our own awareness, consciousness. And you know how we know that? By the way we feel ourselves in the body. Always measure your progress by the way you feel. Are you in alignment or you are in agony? Are you striving for something or you're just at peace? When you are the unconditional being, you're at peace, whatever, you know. Those who try to preoccupy themselves with the world in the name of spirituality are never at peace. That's why their mastery should be questioned. Because those who stay in peace, they're at peace, you know. Okay, I can tell you something. I told you, bye-bye. God bless you. Enjoy your life. Selflessness is that natural detachment, because you realize that there's nothing there to attach to. You can't help anyone. No anyone can help you. If you understand that, you're qualified for mastery. If you haven't realized that, you're still gliding along the surface, fooling around, fooling yourself and others. So unfortunate, but the fact. As long as you're striving for something, as long as you depend on the external, there'll always be a limitation. And the limitation is called selfishness. Selfishness is very difficult to eradicate in this day and age, in this world. And our human understanding of selfishness is not complete, unfortunately. Selfishness arises when you're in a codependent relationship with a projected reality. You need something for your sustenance. In that case, you're codependent. When you're not codependent, who cares? The first link of codependency is because we are hooked on food and drink. We need something. We're hooked on the system of money production. When you're free from that system, you're like you don't care. Someone gives you something, gives, thank you. Doesn't give, doesn't matter. This way, you can remain uncorrupt. The moment you start dependent, your sustenance depends on something else. The corruption arises. That's why higher masters, evolved masters, meaning Siddhas and Immortals, they resort, they retire from the world, not because they're not social beings. No, they love to socialize, but with a like-minded frequency. The frequency that doesn't depend on the world, and their sustenance is no longer connected to the worldly existence. It's not that they force themselves to renounce, like all these people foolishly do. In the name of spirituality, they become monks and nuns and deprive themselves, but they're still dependent. That's why they need to fool their followers and people who follow them or come to them. They need to fool them because the sustenance depends on the provision from the outside world. So how are they renounced? They're not fooling around. That's why they age and die like dogs. They're not masters. Sorry to disappoint everyone, but it is what it is. And those who are on the path of spiritual evolution, slowly and slowly withdraw from that codependent relationship. We don't see real renunciates. Thus, we don't have reference point we can't compare. You see, we don't have. We have people dressed in the robes that we're supposed to consider as the symbol of renunciation. There is no spirit in that robe. There is no spirit of renunciation. There is a spirit of corruption, deprivation, and pride. Spiritual pride is very difficult to eradicate. Unfortunately, most of the people don't realize that. Who cares which turban or crown you wear? There is no spirit of renunciation, truth, essence. You're just but a clown. You know how children dress up for a Christmas party? That's how spiritual masters, supposedly, gurus and masters of this world. There's a Christmas party, Easter party, whatever party. Dress up. Put whatever on yourself, tattoo yourself. Put garlands and wear wooden shoes, orange, pink, red, yellow clothes, white clothes, kimonos, and other type of clothes. Well, you must be a fashionist, a fashion designer, spiritual fashionist, but not a master, a fraud. Everyone is a fraud, period. It's so difficult to admit it because that would disrupt the business, the spiritual business, you know. False followers and false gurus are all in the same boat. Balancing, sinking together. In the name of. Anyways, good luck to everyone. What can I do? I'm a simple person with my own opinion, right? Anyways, I hope this transmission helped you to raise awareness and will help you in the future month, the coming month, to dissolve whatever is left there. That knot in your solar plexus, you know, which obstructs the flow between the heart and the sexual center, will be dissolved, because this is the awareness of yours will dissolve this link. So the link between your perception of who I am in the body and who I am as a being. So that's dissolved. Go and live your life. Enjoy the life in the alignment, through the alignment, and won't go wrong. Everything which is truly spiritual is very, very simple. There's nothing to do. Obviously, it's healthy. Healthy means it gives you balance to exercise the body sometimes, to give it balanced nutrition, nourishment, to expose it to the sunlight sometimes, to take it for a walk. That's all just part of this existence. So, but that all can be enjoyed if you are in internal alignment. Internal alignment means inexhaustible blessing of the higher reality. That's all you can enjoy in this world, because this world is nothing else there. Enjoy nature, look at it, beautiful. Trees, flowers, sky, stars. What else is there?